This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings, powered by eXp Realty. Online at madeformoreliving.com.
So there was a family living in their car in a Walmart parking lot. And in 5 short months, Gerard was able to get them into a home, not only any home, but a luxury home in Chico. So Gerard's with us. He's with Paradigm Credit Repair. My name is Johnny Jennings, and you are listening to Made for More Living. Gerard, you shared some crazy stories in the previous segment about how you took people from living in a parking lot to living in a luxury home, from having 3 bankruptcies to having 0 bankruptcies and having a phenomenal credit score. How fast can people expect these improvements to be made on their credit reports?
Typically, I tell my clients to expect something within the first 30 to 45 days that we're working with them. But
Okay.
I have had some really crazy success in one in particular. I had a Chico, a lender up in Chico, and he's like, "Hey, Gerard, I've seen you do some really good work, and what I got something for you is probably going to be impossible, but let's do it. Let's try." He needed 12 days before it fell out of escrow. I think it's escrow.
Wow.
Yeah, 12 days. I said,
How did
"All
you
right."
get that far in the process? Like, what happened?
Well, he just said, "Hey, I don't know how the guy got where he was at, but apparently he was ready to go. Everything seemed good, and some mysterious collection popped up just before." And he said, "What can we do?" I said, "I don't know, but let's try it. Let's go for it." Sure enough, I get a call on day 11. This guy was ecstatic. He goes, "Guess what? I got my 52 points."
Wow.
I said, "Really? How?" And I was like, "No, I know how. I did it," right? He says, "Absolutely. One day before this thing was going to fall out, we saved the deal."
Wow. 52 points in 11 days.
In 11 days. It was a couple of inquiries that came off, and the collection too. And and just to let everyone know, I'm not blowing smoke anywhere. I think, Johnny, you saw the testimony.
I watched the testimonial. Yeah, this guy was going on for like 5 minutes about how great Gerard was and how it just absolutely, he would not have the home. He was going to lose the home of his dreams if he did not get those 52 points.
Yeah.
And you guys were able to knock it out. So that was fast. That was 11 days. You said you expect, or you tell your clients to expect some movement in the 30 to 45 day range. Like, what kind of movement are we talking?
I like to say that, if they've got something that is like a collection, we can typically get a collection removed within the first 30 to 45 days.
Okay.
That's not always the case, but that's very typical. I get people that call in and say, "Oh, wow, that was, I got this, or I got 20 points removed." Well, this one item came off. That's great, but let's expect more.
So a collection is generally how many points?
When a collection first hits your report, it's going to hit you for about 40 points.
Okay.
You get a collection tomorrow, it hits you tomorrow, it's typically about 40 points. The longer a collection stays on, the longer a collection stays on, the less it hurts your credit report. That's why I don't really talk scores too much to people, because if we remove a collection that's 5 years old, it may only take your score up 10 points.
So interesting. I thought it was more linear than that, like more exact, but it's all shades of gray.
It's called time decay. The longer something's on, the less it's kind of hurting you.
So you're able to remove collections. Are you able to remove bankruptcies?
Yes.
Okay. So when I was in my early 20s, I was on the verge of filing for bankruptcy. I had a bunch of bad financial decisions, and I was like, you know what, I'm done with this. This was back in the day when they could call up your family and really embarrass you and create all this pressure, even call your employers.
Yeah, take your dog.
Yeah, exactly. And in order to collect that debt, and I was done with it. I was saying, you know what, I'm just going to file for bankruptcy. Thank goodness I didn't. But what they were threatening me with is, hey, if you file for bankruptcy, that stays on your credit report for 10 years, and there's no way to remove that. And I think that's the assumption of a lot of people listening, that bankruptcy sticks with you for 10 years. Correct us if we're wrong.
Yeah, that bankruptcy can stay on there for, I've seen bankruptcies actually be on someone's credit report for 17 years.
Whoa.
That's not supposed to happen, but that's why people think, oh, just let it go, let it fall off on its own. Well, go ahead, but that's like saying I'm going to get skinny by just sitting here and not doing anything about it. And it's supposed to happen. Well, there's a lot of things in life that are supposed to happen that just don't.
Yeah.
It doesn't behoove them sometimes to get these things removed. It doesn't help them. They don't mind keeping it on your credit report. That's how they're making money. When you pull these credit bureaus. But just to qualify something too, bankruptcies we can get removed to not show on the credit report. That does not mean we can get the bankruptcy absolved, that you don't owe the money, anything like that.
Right.
It just means that we can get it to not show, because what happens is the way the courts are not reporting the bankruptcy to the credit bureaus. The credit bureaus are going out seeking this information because it is a public record. The bankruptcies are not putting it on your credit report. The bankruptcies have it out there, and then the credit bureaus grab it, and then they stick it up there.
Got it. So if you were able to remove a bankruptcy, like what's the general credit score boost or bump that you would see out of that? Because is there a time decay with that as well?
Exactly. Anything that's on your credit report is time decay. Remember that. So, I mean, if you have an 800 credit score right now, and then you get a bankruptcy tomorrow, your score is going to drop a couple 300 points, maybe. I don't know, but it gets pretty far. Well, you won't have an 800 credit score and then file BK. You're before that, anyways. But I actually had a case where it was an older client that I had, and the bankruptcy was on there for like 6 years. Mm-hmm. We got the bankruptcy removed. Their score went up like 16 points.
Oh,
that's
wow.
it.
Yeah.
But it needed to be removed because they needed to purchase a home. The lender would not sell them the land without the bankruptcy still on there. So again, time decay. Typically, if we can get it removed, the sooner the better. Your score will go up.
Can you get it removed like from reporting year one, or is there a certain time frame that they have to wait to contact you?
Once it gets discharged, however long that may take.
What's that mean, discharged?
The discharge is when it actually formally goes into the process, and then all the paperwork is done.
Okay.
Then we can come and, I mean, sometimes people they've been working with an attorney and say, hey, I'm working with an attorney, we're filing bankruptcy, can you work on it now? We can't. It's got to go through the system first, and we got to do that. Typically, I won't start on a bankruptcy until after about the third month it's been on there.
Why is that?
It just allows so when you file a bankruptcy, all of the credit items come in there too. Because you don't file a bankruptcy, and then it's just bankruptcy, and that's all you have on there. There's other items that report too. You know, the collection that you may have had, the charge-offs, the late pays, and all that. All that stuff needs to go through it. Last thing we want to do is work on a credit report that has 6 items when they file the bankruptcy, and then 3 months later, 6 more pop up.
Got it.
Now we're doing more work. Mm-hmm. Let's just hit this thing, once everything is on there, and we can just start working and moving forward.
Okay. Well, I love hearing that you wait so you can do it properly and be effective in what you're doing. So you're not in it, like for those people who are listening, like you're not doing this just for the 11-day, 2-week credit repair and then you're gone. Like you're in this for the long haul with people. Like what's the length of time you typically work with somebody?
Typically, I like to have everything done in under 6 months.
Under 6 months.
Under 6 months.
Interesting. There are some people out there who like say, hey, after 6 months, you should see an improvement.
Well, after 6 months, yeah. Well, California law also says, unless something's changed within this year, that you're not allowed to keep someone on a contract, paying monthly for 6 months.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So then you got to re-up the contract. So I like to try to get things done before that, because sometimes people will feel, hey, look, if you just work slow on this thing, all I'm going to do is just pay you a bunch of money and keep paying you and keep paying you and keep paying you. It doesn't behoove them to get it done fast.
Exactly. And we hear that from a lot of listeners who call up again, these larger corporations who claim that they can improve your credit score based on a monthly fee or something like that. And so they keep them hanging on for an extended period of time. Don't return emails, don't return phone calls. And it just frustrates people because life is short, and they want to get into that home or they want to purchase that car, and they just want to have a better credit score. And so they call up these companies, and it's just so frustrating. And a lot of times they do tell them it's going to take years and years and years.
What would you say to that,
That
Gerard?
brings them hope when they hear stuff like that, that you guys are so quick.
Yeah, well, and that's not to discount anybody or any company. There are very legitimate companies out here that do, that say, hey, it's going to take this many months because they see what's on the credit report,
Sure.
and we're going to work monthly on you, and et cetera, et cetera. There's some big ones out here that are very good, and I have a lot of respect for them. But what ends up happening is, I think, again, we go back to what people have done in this community, especially, have really tarnished this business and the reputation that this business has.
So what are some red flags? If people are like, obviously, if they're listening to the show, they're probably going to go to you and at least interview
and again,
Paradigm.
His name is Gerard Brazil with Paradigm Credit Report.
Repair.
Paradigm Credit Repair. So if they're gonna interview you, but if they have already started talking with people, or if their friends or and family are talking with other people, what are some red flags that disreputable credit repair companies could be telling them?
Let's see. Well, we're going to take all of this money up front. That's the big thing. Okay. So legally, we're not supposed to take payment up front before work is done.
Got it.
Okay. So that's one of the red flags.
Okay.
Sure.
Now-
So if they say, all right, we're going to need an initial payment to get started, that should be a red flag.
No. Now you can you can have a consultation fee.
Okay.
Has to be within reason. You can do that. You can take a consultation fee within reason, and then you can set them up on a payment plan. However you decide to do that falls within, one, it could be something that you already have set, or even a payment plan that fits their needs. So that's the first thing. The second thing is,
But you just can't charge the entire payment plan up front.
right.
Got it.
Right. The second thing is that I think is a big red flag is if somebody says, hey, we're going to do what's called a credit sweep for you.
Ooh, that sounds fancy.
Yeah, it sounds fancy, but it's going to put you in the feds, in the pen too. And that was the big thing around here. People say, hey, we're going to do a credit sweep for you. And what a credit sweep is, we're going to get everything removed off your credit report within 30 to 90 days. Everything, it's going to come off.
Oh, that sounds heavenly.
Yeah, but here's the thing: is they're just saying we're not going to just try to use the validity of the law, the Fair Credit Reporting Act, which says, hey, if this, you can challenge the accuracy of it. We can challenge the accuracy of anything that's on there. That's what it's supposed to be. 78% of what's on your credit report typically is inaccurate.
How much?
78%.
Wow.
It can be considered.
Why
inaccuracy.
is that?
People don't take enough of the information that they're required to hold, as far as a company to hold and say, this is what you owe. Here's the original contract. Here's the original start date. They just take all that information and probably don't store it correctly.
Back in the foreclosure days in 2008 and all that, I heard a lot of, not a lot, it was rare, but it was happening. The lenders could not find the copy of the paperwork. And if they couldn't produce the paperwork, it's like, I don't have a loan with you. Like,
wow.
you can't prove that I have a loan with you. I can't prove that I have a loan with you. There's no loan. We're done. And people were getting out of situations that way because of poor paperwork, because of poor documentation. And so that's what you're saying is happening in the credit repair space or with the credit bureaus?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, that could very well happen, and there's not enough fact checking on it. Someone can just put, hey, yeah, I have you in collections here. Well, they sold that collection to another company, they sold that original debt to another, to a collection company.
Yeah.
Who's to say that they've given them all the correct information, the accurate information, the contract? Hey, how much was this debt? There's a reason why that they're willing to take, a collection or an original debt from $1,000 and say, hey, Johnny, we'll knock this thing off for $75.
Wow.
They're willing to do that.
Wow. Okay. So that's good to know. So you guys can get it done fast, but you're typically expect 6 months or less. And a red flag would be, hey, if they're doing a credit sweep or if they are asking for a bunch of money up front for their services.
And with that going back to real quick to that credit sweep is basically what would end up happening is they're saying, hey, what we're going to do? We're going to file what's called an FTC report on you. And the FTC report basically says we're going to file fraud in your name. We're going to say that none of these were yours. Someone grabbed your identity. It's identity theft. And we're going to get all this stuff removed. That's just unethical. It's wrong. Now, if it really happened, it really happened. That's one thing. But it's very rare that somebody, it typically happens with one or two items. You won't find someone's got 8 items on the credit report and all 8 of them were because of fraud. That doesn't happen.
Got it. Cool. Well, hey, everybody, thank you so much for listening. I'm Johnny Jennings with Made for More Living, and we have our special guest, Gerard Brazil with Paradigm Credit Repair, and we'll be right back.
If you're listening right now and you're thinking, I would love to buy a home or purchase a new vehicle, but My credit score is keeping me down. Don't be discouraged. There's hope with Gerard Brazil at ParadigmCreditRepair.com. Collections, bankruptcies, Gerard Brazil has successfully dealt with them all, and he can get it done fast for your family so you can get on with living your best life. Reach out to him today at ParadigmCreditRepair.com, ParadigmCreditRepair.com.